Mr. Krishnakumar, you've given us the screen share permission, right? We have the permission to share the screen.
I think it's taken care by Dr. Biplav. I think that there is.
So it's has disabled attendee screen sharing.
All right. So I'll talk to Biplav about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So first, let me wish you all a happy Independence Day. Let's salute our great nation on its Independence Day. On behalf of the Department of Management Studies, PES University, and on my own behalf, I would like to welcome you all for this webinar. The COVID-19 pandemic has created a huge challenge and uncertainty about the future of many business entities. However, we do know that the world will not be the same post COVID-19, and even on the economic front, there will be a new normal. Like every single crisis, this will also create a lot of opportunities and open new horizons, which if we are able to leverage, we can help the nation to strengthen the economy. And also we believe that there is light aplenty at the end of this tunnel. I find wisdom from a line in Thirukural written by Ayan Thiruvalluvar, which is Urural Utrapin Olgamai, Ivirandin Arenber Aindavar Code, which talks about two important maxims. It is the policy of the wise men to prevent all the obstacles and not to be discouraged if any obstacle arises while performing the task. In this context, this webinar, which is fifth in the series of webinars on lessons from COVID-19 game-changing strategies, organized by the Department of Management Studies at PES University Bengaluru. I would like to now request Ms. Dhanalakshmi to introduce our eminent speakers for today's webinar. Over to you, Dhanalakshmi.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, all. So firstly, I would like to introduce our guest of the session. Karthik is one of the founding partners of Knowise and has been working in the financial service industry for more than 15 years. He has extensively worked with a professional to equip them with the upset and knowledge required in their professional journey. Karthik is a CFP and an MBA and has worked as a preferred training partner with the multiple reputed entities like NISM, NSDC, FPSB India, etc. Prior to Knowise, he has worked in the asset management, wealth management space, which gives him all-round understanding of the industry. He has a strong track record of conducting the workshop across the India on finance for non-finance, corporate finance, analyzing the financial statements, equity debt derivatives market, financial planning, wealth management, and structured programs to CFP aspirants. Apart from training, Karthik has also been handling the key accounts for Knowise. He has also designed the experiential learning programs and jointly handled the concept development role at the Knowise. And he is also an associate with Mount Carmel Institute of Management, ISBR, IBMR College, as a visiting faculty. A warm welcome to you, sir. And I would also extend my warm welcome to Mr. A. Benil, who is the head of the marketing research of our business ladder in Coimbatore. And he is a BE Mechanical Engineering in CSI Institute of Technology. He worked an year in CRIP, Coimbatore, as an operations stream. And he did his MBA in 2007 in Karparam College of Engineering, Coimbatore. And he is a gold medalist from Anna University in 2009. Has operations in WIP in IFPL Birla Group's Chennai for a year. Worked as a market research strategist in the butterfly effect till 2015. Currently, Benil is working as a market research head in our business ladder. Thank you, sir. We welcome you to the session. I would like to over to Mr. Karthik to continue the session.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dhanalakshmi. I think, shall I start, Mr. Krishnakumar?
Please, sir. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So hello, good evening, everyone. So thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I'll probably take about a little more than 10 minutes to really, discuss about COVID and COVID-related impact in the industry which I come from, that is banking, financial service industry, and also trainings. When I say training, corporate trainings. Okay. I'll just share my experience and how things have been for our industry since last 4 or 5 months or so. I think post that, I would love to take up questions on this rather than me just giving a monologue about the changes and everything. Okay. So let me just share my presentation. I've just prepared a small presentation for this. Yeah, okay. So just to give you what, as a company, Knowise Learning Academy, what we have done in the last, since our inception. Me and my other partner, we started this 12 years back. So as a company, we have trained little more than 3 lakh people across India. So, and we have covered about 90 unique locations. That's the amount of travel what we did. So when I say about us, these days when I'm introducing myself, this is the about us pre-COVID. I don't know how I would introduce post-COVID and how I would talk about visiting all the unique locations and so forth. I'm sure things are definitely going to change. That's what we are broadly going to discuss. Okay. Our target audience have been from people who are working in banks, mutual fund companies, or distribution houses, insurance companies. Primarily people from financial service industry, and also to some extent we have trained people from IT space and so on. We have closely worked with NISM, that is National Institute of Securities Markets, who is a let's say the regulatory authority for the capital market examination related aspects. FPSB, who's the owner of CFP certifications, and National Stock Exchange, and we've also been conducting investor awareness programs. The impact of COVID, just the fact that we are attending this webinar or this seminar through web or digital platform, not in your college campus, itself is a great, let's say, indicator that things have changed drastically. Let me just give you just a brief insight on what changes have been happening in the financial service industry, pre-COVID and post-COVID, what has been the changes, allied industries and corporate training industries. And according to me, I mean, I'm not saying this is exactly how the world will be, but according to me, where do you think we would probably be heading towards? That also is very important. What I believe is, in general, any changes, right? Change is good and change is slow. But whenever a change is being brought in by an external factor, it brings in radical changes. Okay. Look at New India today, what we have. It happened in 1991. That is because in India, we were in a economically very tough situation. That's why then, let's say Finance Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, had to open up the economy. The modern economy, what we see, is because of economic compulsions, what we had during that time. Okay, that is one big external factor. Look at the digital era in the financial service industry today. That was brought in because of demonetization. Paytm was there, Freecharge was there, but they were never so famous before demonetization. Demonetization is one external change which brought in and changed the entire face of digital payments. Subsequent to demonetization, if you see the UPI payments, what we call it as the Google Pays of the world, or any of these, the modern payment platforms, what we see is because of demonetization. Likewise, COVID is also one factor which is brought in, like an external change which is actually, let's say, changing the face of the many industries. Okay. Today, what we'll be briefly looking at is for financial services industry and the allied industries. So what's happening in financial service industry, what we call it as BFSI domain, many of you know that slowly more and more digital transactions are happening. Okay, what is the impact of digital transactions? Almost about for the as of month of July this year, 23% increase in the digital transactions compared to what we did in the previous months. Okay, there are more and more number of people now are being forced to shift towards online transactions. When I say online transaction, remember, I'm not only talking about transferring money, I'm also talking about you want to invest in mutual funds, people are using online platforms. You want to pay your premiums in life insurance or general insurance, people are using online platforms. Almost everything is going online. And imagine there are so many banks and other financial institutions who have employed people who has client-facing roles, the sales or the marketing roles, what you call it as. Now, primarily their meetings have been over phone or through any of these platform meetings like Zoom or Google Hangout and so on. In the month of March, we didn't anticipate this. By April, May, we were back on our feet with respect to doing business, right? Imagine doing a meeting in Bangalore for somebody, if you're located in MG Road, and then if you have a meeting happening in Whitefield, imagine the amount of travel time you would have taken to reach there and then meet the client and then come back, all those things. So today, all those things have not been a challenge at all, right? But the biggest challenge is the moment you move everything online, especially even client meetings online, some of our, like let's say at least my industry connect, what people are saying is, it is not that easy to make a sale happen over digital platforms. And if you're sitting with a client, personally, then it's a lot easier to really understand the client. And then probably client is giving that exclusive time for you and all that. So that the human touch is really missing as of now. Okay, this is one change which is really happening in the financial service industry, be it insurance, banking, or any of the wealth management products. If you see, this is one change what is being brought in. And how are the allied industries changing? For example, suppose if you want to work in the mutual fund industry, you are supposed to clear the certain regulatory exams. Those regulatory exams are conducted by NISL. You want to sell insurance, you are supposed to clear insurance exams conducted by IRDA, be it life or general insurance. So all these are the, let's say regulatory requirements, and these certificates will have to be active. So what used to happen earlier was to write the exam, we used to go to an exam center in a physical location and then wrote the exam online and then walked out of the center. All thanks to COVID, people are really skeptical to walk into a center today to write the examination. People are thinking twice. And then big cities, the center is not open also. Like let's say if you look at Bangalore or Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, all these places, the exam centers are closed. So which means technically speaking, from the month of let's say March end till now, all these places, examination centers are closed. So that's a big impact. Imagine how many people that the overall plans would have been derailed because of all these things. So that's one big impact. So what are the regulators doing for this? What regulators are thinking, or I think it's almost would be probably implemented by next month, is you can take exams and you can take these regulatory training programs sitting at home. Okay, so they're using AI-based technology where you log into your system, you're sitting in front of the system, answer it. But it's a brilliant proposition, right? I mean, if you're sitting at your home and taking the exam, people are thinking that, okay, it's easy to cheat. I'll open multiple screens, or I have someone sitting very close to the system helping me answer the questions which are asked in the examination. Now, they are taking help of artificial intelligence, which will track your eyeball movement. If you're changing your screens multiple times, the AI will really pop up and then say that probably this candidate is cheating. And 360-degree access or the view of the camera to scan your the surrounding. I mean, imagine the amount of technology, the changes which has been brought in only for this. Now, if something like this were to happen, what do you think would be the possible impact? Which are the industries which will get affected? Any guess? A few people can probably type in and then give your thoughts on this. The examination centers have been, like let's say it's a infrastructure facility provided by third-party providers. If all the exams were to be moved for home-based exam, imagine how much of infrastructure or real estate-based business will be affected. What will happen to those business owners who have opened up examination centers? You wanted to write GMAT, you had to go to Pearson U. Imagine by next year, you don't have to go to Pearson U. You can sit at home and then, write that examination. Imagine the impact. And for some of the training programs, people, took up hotels, banquet halls, and all those things. Those businesses also would be impacted. So this is the kind of changes which actually could happen in the coming months or years because of these technological changes. It's not that this technology was not available before, it was available, but we were not forced into adopt this particular technology now. Okay, so that is with respect to the allied industries of BFSI. Okay, what's happening in corporate trainings industry? Okay, we always thought that trainings or corporate trainings is one recession-proof industry because people or the companies will keep on spending money on trainings. But for me, learning has been fantastic because when I said 12 years, I mentioned it specifically because when I started this company, it was in 2008. We started in one recession, that is 2008 global recession. We experienced what is recession at the beginning, early phases of our companies in corporation or early years of our experience itself, right? One important learning what we took in 2008 was that the moment economy gets into recession or if businesses are getting affected because of whatever is the external scenario, the first budget what companies would cut is training budget. Okay, so same thing has happened even for us even now. So we have to come out with innovative ways to go back to our client. What is the challenge for training industry going online? Geographical boundaries is no more a challenge, right? Imagine if there is a training program which needs to be conducted in Bangalore. Suppose PES in the college is conducting a training program. PES college will not look for people outside Bangalore. Like you will engage faculties or the resource persons within Bangalore. Just the fact that Mr. Benil is sitting today here from Coimbatore itself, like let's say really removing the geographical boundaries. So that means for people, the geographical boundaries is fading means increasing the number of competition. That's a very big challenge, I would say, for the industry. But at the same time, it's also a great opportunity for good resources who could say that, okay, I wouldn't mind doing a training program in Guwahati, or I wouldn't mind doing a training program in Hisar. That's another a great turnaround, like let's say for our industry in corporate trainings. And at the end of the day, online trainings as a concept itself is a very big challenge. I have my niece who is like in 4th standard. Imagine a 4th standard child is saying that what we do is in our online classes, we change the name. I change my name to principal's name. So the teacher is very careful. Suddenly they think that principal is sitting in the classroom with the video off, So just about 4 months back, teachers had absolute control over the class. Today, the concept of control is completely gone. Don't you think that's a big challenge? I know probably these are best times for being a student, but as a facilitator, not just in schools, colleges, even in corporate trainings, I think it's a great challenge. It's very difficult to really assess the mood of the participants, whether they're able to understand or not. And all these things are, I think, is something which are big challenges for our industry. I think moving completely online, all the trainings and classroom sessions and everything itself is a big question mark. Can we really move everything online? I don't know what could be the answer. So then quickly to address on how are we surviving? How do you think we could survive? What do you think could be the way forward? If you look at our industry, that is when we say BFSI, we are talking about banking, finance and service industry. The whole concept of online is here to stay. Digital transactions are here to stay. 10 years back, people went to a bank for good service, right? Or you had a relationship with one individual because of good service. You picked up the phone, asked for some help, some account statement or some mutual fund transaction, they gave you very good service. The concept of good service is going to go. Why? Because today you don't need good service to book a movie ticket or to book an online train ticket, right? It's all online now. You can control everything from your mobile device. Same thing would happen for our industry as well. But remember, BFSI industry means dealing with money. The moment it is money, people are emotional. You need someone knowledgeable who can actually sit with the client, understand the emotional aspects of the client, understand the technical knowledge of the industry, and giving right advice. To that extent, this industry will still remain physical. I think even post-COVID levels, there would still be physical meetings, right? You will not be meeting your travel agent, but you would definitely meeting your financial advisor, because you want that assurance if markets are going down. It's okay, sir, no problem. I mean, markets will come back up. So our industry is going to remain a good blend of online as well as the physical world. Okay, moving completely online for our industry, I don't think that would be the future, at least for next foreseeable time. Okay, and for trainings again, just the fact that when I talk to some of the school kids and all that, I asked my own daughter, who is like 3-year-old. She says, "Papa, when am I going to go to school? Okay, I want to go to school." So just the fact that kids are missing the school, that means the school, college, and even corporate training education will not be pure online altogether. Okay, we will go back to era where you will have physical connect. You will be talking to people. Because school or college is not just about learning, or corporate trainings is not just about learning. It's about learning social skills, talking to others, handling conflicts, and all those things. Sitting at home, you will not really get to experience any of these things. So what I foresee for our industry, that is most of basic programs, very basic ones, will be moved online, but intermediate and advanced concepts will be taught in the physical world. That could be one scenario. And at the same time, use of technology will be far more radical than what happened in the couple of years back. So what we are also doing right now, we are gamifying most of the training programs, in the sense, instead of just me sitting and teaching through PPTs, we have created and designed a couple of games. Participants will play the games and so on. And we have technological intervention where you will have an app, and you will have pre-training assessment, post-training assessment. During the training or during the classroom session, there are quiz and different games which you will be playing through our app. Okay, so, and all these participations and everything will be shared with the organization on instant basis. So tracking the efficiency of the training program on each of the candidates would be a lot easier. I think these are some of the radical changes, I think, which will definitely happen for our industry. Okay, so yes, what I personally think for our industry is blended is the coexistence of online and offline is the way forward. We may not go back to the complete olden days technique, but it's going to be a blend of both, you know. So that's what I see for our industry. And we started this preparation almost about a year back, but this COVID situation is actually helping us because our games are today helping the participants to help learn the concepts better and make the online training experience a lot better. Okay. So I think on that note, I would just like to conclude my session. I think after Mr. Benil's, like, let's say, piece of talk, then we'll be okay to take the questions. Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a Q&A session at the end of this particular, towards the end of this webinar. Yeah. So we also have a couple of questions in the question and answer section. So we'll take that. I think we'll go to the next speaker now. Mr. Benil, over to you. Benil, I think you should unmute yourself.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good evening, guys. And first of all, let me thank management of PES University and the Department of Management Education and Mr. Krishna Kumar and Mr. Biplab Sarkar for giving me a wonderful opportunity on narrating my own experiences regarding the lessons what I have learned from this COVID back. So let me go into the session. First thing is that I start the session with a statement given by Dr. Tedros, is the Director General of WHO. He stated that this is an unprecedented crisis which demands an unprecedented response, which means the unprecedented response is nothing but the game-changing strategies. I was told by the staffs of this college that you had a series of events comprising the game-changing strategies for organization to combat the COVID, post-COVID crisis. So I'm going to take up some information and I'm going to give you some insights regarding the unprecedented crisis the rather way. Okay, so actually we are not having one pandemic. We are actually having three pandemics. That is pandemics by a contagion, and followed by the pandemics by an economic sluggishness, and the pandemics of consumer changing psychologies. Okay. So these are some insights which says that the impact of contagion towards the economy, the human, and every related ecosystem is considerably getting higher and higher. For example, these are self-explanatory things so that you can easily learn from the screen. That is, virus kills humans more than war, right? Every square meter of this planet is covered by 800 million viruses. It says that, no, why I am giving such information is the proximity or the growth of virus is extremely high in the recent years. Because I will tell you all details one by one. It is just 36 hours is needed for a virus to transfer from one remote village in Africa or Asia to any part of an urban city of any continent. So it's just 36 hours is more than enough, right? In the last 50 years, our population gets double, where the microbes have grown 40 billion times than us. Okay. Then 1,000 new viruses spotted between 2009 and 2014. The real problem is not with the pathogens, but the complacence. Because our vaccination production across the globe was just around 6 billion doses, which is a mere fraction to control the contagion and the impact caused by the contagion. And the second thing is the zoonotic pathogens. Zoonotic pathogens are nothing but the pathogens that are created from animals. Okay, nearly 2.4 billion people in developing countries alone affects every year, and nearly 2.2 million deaths happening mercilessly. Okay, the infection diseases SARS, HIV, COVID have grown 4 times in the last 100 years, right? Annually, $3.4 billion will be the needed investment for preparing the human and animal health system in the developing economies. Specifically, I want to put another story behind this. US is, the United States of America is investing much higher in the animal welfare and health systems, because nearly 12% of their exports to the other countries related with the meat exports. So they are investing heavily on this industry so that they can get the edge over the other players. And between 2011 and 2018, WHO has spotted around 1,483 epidemic events across 172 countries. And as I already told, this zoonotic pathogens is 188 very harmful to the mankind. And the next thing is antibiotic apocalypse. It is nothing but there is an antibiotic called colistin. Colistin is considered to be the last resort of antibiotics. If colistin doesn't work for a human, then no other antibiotic can save a human. So recently, a study has been conducted across Chinese, a particular area in China. Nearly 25% of the patients were showing resistance towards this colistin. So it means that the AMR, that is antimicrobial resistance, is started to decreasing, which is a very, very dangerous thing for the human mankind. Because if that happens, if the colistin starts to decrease its, if lose its potent, then we will go back to the 1927 ages where the penicillin was not discovered. So it is the pharmaceutical companies and the biosimilar companies are all related. Pharma companies are making more efforts in bringing out the new type of antibiotics. So that's the point there. And drug resistance, it's related to the same AMR. Nearly 0.7 million is affected, and the death was relatively 0.7 million now, and it will be around 10 million in 2030. Just a minute. And the next thing is pandemic of economic sluggishness. See, we know by taking a quarantine 40 days of leave, if any organization or any state is closing 40 days of lockdown, what we lose is the global merchandise trade of US 2.12 trillion across the globe. The second thing is the global commercial service, including tourism, of US 0.6 trillion. Okay, it means that if you close the entire business ecosystem for 40 days, you're going to lose around 2.12 trillion and 0.6 trillion of merchandise trade and commercial service across the globe. On an average, for every pandemic, nearly 1% of the global GDP will be lost. But in the case of COVID, on the baseline calculation, it was around expecting to be 5.2% of GDP will be lost. In worst case, it will go up to 8% of loss. Okay, and there is a discrimination between this pandemic, because the lower income countries or the developing countries, which is losing around 1.6% of the GDP, whereas the higher income countries or the developed nations are losing just 0.3% of their GDP. It's because the poverty as well as the population intensity is the main reason for this disparities. SARS is one of the pandemic which cost around 54 billion and it recorded only 800 deaths. And while speaking about this recession, every recession will take at least 15 months. 15 months an average recession can stay, and the average expansion can be up to 48 months. The average expansion here means the situation of the pre-existing levels. That is the average expansion time. The lost economy is not about the loss of deceased people or dead people, but with the power of absenteeism, quarantine periods, short-term impacts, and long-term impacts of pandemics. For example, after the outbreak of SARS, Chinese people, the Chinese investors started to, the organizations made by Chinese, they have quarantined all people, all employees within their campus, and they started to extract the work from the people without sending them to their own homes. So this was happened at the times of SARS, but now it is not happening. And another thing is, which are the companies that are going to be affected deeply will be the thin margin based companies and liquidity starving companies, especially the companies which have a very wafer thin margins. They are going to be affected very widely with the COVID aspects. The short term praise says about the tourism and the airline industry and the consumer discretionary industry. These are the industry which will be the worst hit industry. And when it comes to the long term, labor intensive industries, commercial service industries, and manufacturing industries, it will have the impact of COVID or any other pandemic will be high in the long term for these industries. The third thing is pandemic of consumer changing psychologies. The consumer psychologies before the COVID levels, and the consumer psychology after post-COVID levels will not be the same. You can see there are so many facts and there are so many informations or insights across the globe stating that the cost value proportions and offerings and experience seems to be changing. For example, ES, that is US, European countries, Japan and Indian consumers felt that they have an expectation of 20% to 40% dip in their income. It means the per capita income is decreasing by 25% to 40%. If the per capita income decreased by 25% to 45%, then their spending on the consumer discretionary segments will be curtailed. Their spending on the luxury will be reduced. So these are the aspects which have a negative cascading effects on the other sectors. And nearly recently in the April, there was a survey conducted across US asking the people of US that, and they said 85% of the respondents across the developed countries wants to take up the domestic tourism soon after the lockdown, especially in the short haul and driving tourism segments. It means that the international tourism will be the worst affected sector, whereas the domestic tourism will attract considerably better proportions. While comparing with the international tourism, the domestic tourism will get its comfortable share after COVID levels. The number of grocery orders placed by baby boomers in China increased by 4 times in Alibaba website. It means the baby boomers or the generation who are born between the 1946 to 60s. So these baby boomers, they were not highly penetrated with the smartphones and internet. Now they are ordering much when compared to the pre-COVID levels. So nearly 4 times the sales has increased in Alibaba website. And another example is users of 40 years of age and old have recorded 237% increase after the COVID-19 scenario in Miss Fresh. Miss Fresh is an online portal in China. And this is the recently taken survey by Accenture. And you can see the first survey was taken in the March 19 to 25, and the second survey was taken in April 2 to 6. Between the first and second survey, you can see the perception or the response of the same people have increased because they are scared about the existing levels, and they still believe that some negative aspects, some worst forms of COVID are yet to come. So these are the first thing is the limiting food waste. They have started to think about the limiting the food waste. And second thing is shopping more health conscious. So recently after the COVID break levels, more organic based startups and online grocery based startups have started to enter into the market, and they have considerably recorded very good proportions of profit. And key takeaways. What is the key takeaways? The golden rule for winning the business will be the asset-light models. Asset-light models are nothing but you have to invest less and you have to invest more on the consumer experience or the consumer-related aspects. So that is the asset-light models. And second thing is don't move the one strategy fits all move, because one strategy can place well with the one situation or scenario, but it may not work with the other scenario. So you have to be very careful in choosing this one strategy fits all move. Third thing is always track your customer segments and their proportions. So you have to track your customer segments because, for example, everyone knows about the Harley Davidson, who's the American biggest American motorcycle player. And they were primarily considering this baby boomers as their prime sectors. But year after year, they have not channelized their marketing promotions and branding promotions to attract the other sets of generations, maybe the generation Y or the millennials or the generation Z. So they have not concentrated on building the customer acquisition across other segments. This results, and after as of now, the baby boomers are getting old and they are not going to ride the heavy motorcycles of this Harley Davidson, because the Harley Davidsons, most of the motorcycles were around 650cc and 850cc. So they are not going with that the baby boomers are not able to catch up that things. And finally, now Harley Davidson has completely lost this baby boomers, and the overall sales has declined. And now they went for some bankruptcy. It's not a bankruptcy. They went for some bailout, some aspects, some aspects related to the financial aspect. And the next thing is keeping aloof with GSF models. GSF models are nothing but a model which is a fast. They are going with a very fast mode. For example, you start a outlet at Chennai. Immediately within the 3 months of time, you started to develop across Hyderabad and all to 10 places also, 10 places or more than 10 places. If you go with this GSF models, the chances of survival will be very less at the time of pandemics or epidemics. So, especially at the time of recessions, these GSF models will kill the financial health of any organization. So, we should be very careful by moving with this GSF models. And the next thing is stick with the customer data rather than the retailer selling data. It is based on the data mining. You have to think about the customer preferences and not about the retailer selling data. So I can explain you with an example of Basket. Because actually online grocery market in India, nearly the online grocery market of India is around 2% of the total retail space. Because online mobile industry, nearly 40% of consumption is taken there. But when it comes to online grocery models, around 2% market is holding in India. This is because that most of the people, even though the internet penetration and smartphone penetrations, the online grocery models have not been flourished well in advance across the state. In some areas, specifically in the urban cities, the chances of survival is better, but in the rural side, it is not getting better. And the biggest success rate for this online grocery models across rurals and urban is the cash on delivery model. But now, even after so many aspects, nearly 70 to 80% of the Indian people, they want to take up this cash on delivery model. So this is the one. This is the biggest thing that makes a revolution across the online grocery models. But even that makes only just 2% of the total share. And I will also give you an example of Big Basket. Big Basket doesn't go with a single strategy. So Big Basket does not believe about one strategy fits all, because there are 3 set of customer segments in retail. That is planned buyers. Planned buyers are the buyers who always buy groceries, staples at the start of the month. Okay, nearly 60 to 65% of the consumers falls into this planned grocery segments. The second thing is that weekend top-ups. So these are the second customer segments. Nearly covers around 20 to 25% of the market. But these people, they will take up the buying process every week. And the third segment is specialty goods, because these customer segments, they will have a long search in the web boards, by word of mouth or whatever the forms. They will collect all this information and they will scrutinize their buying decision. By making this, they will go and get it with the specialty stores. Big Basket is targeting all 3 segments, but 3 different strategies. For example, in 2015, every marketplace, every online grocery marketplace, they started with a marketplace model. Marketplace model is a model where the player will be act as a intermediate between the buyers and the sellers. So every people started to go with this marketplace model. In 2016, there is a bloodbath happened in the online grocery models, which made everyone to get an exit. But Big Basket is the first. Big Basket is the first company which tries to move with this inventory-led model. Inventory-led model is a model where they keep their inventories or the goods with themselves, and by placing an order, they can get their inventory from their own warehouse or dark stores, and they will deliver it. So this is the one. Big Basket has one time ahead of understanding the market, and they go with the inventory-led model. And the second thing is that they have started in Bangalore and have waited for 4 years to backtest their strategy. But whereas the other players, they go with this GSF models. This GSF is, they have started in Chennai, Hyderabad, Cochin, and whatever the places they can. But entirely, everyone went into the failure. But Big Basket take 4 long years to think about the process and systems, and they are calling that year of backend. So 1 year they have completely taken for this year of background and tested their process and systems, and later in the second year itself they have gone for this marketing and other things. For these 3 segments, first segments they have gone for the inventory led model, that is planned buyers, that is everyone who buys at the start of the month, they are going with the inventory led models. Whereas in the second things, that is weekend top line model, they go with a hyper local market. Hyper local model is nothing but a model where you can place an order to a Big Basket, where Big Basket will collect the order and will take from the nearby stores or nearby Kirana stores or mom and pop stores, wherever it is possible. They will take that, they will buy from them and they will deliver to you. They act as a intermediate. On the third thing, specialty stores, they go with the marketplace model. So this is the way that works with Big Basket. And now, even now, Big Basket is not taking up a break-even point, but still, it is having a better price valuations than the other. So these are all some aspects that I can tell you. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Benil. Thank you so much, and thank you, Karthik, for the fantastic speech. Now it's time to take the questions from the question answer section. I think Dhanlakshmi, I think you would have made a note of the questions. Yeah, you can go with the questions. Yeah, you can ask one by one.
Yes, sir. So it is, what is the future of the business after COVID-19?
I think Karthik, I think you'll be the right person to answer this, especially with respect to the corporate training segment. So then I'll again ask the same question to Mr. Benil.
I guess business will come back to its normalcy, right? I mean, all of us would love meeting people. Nobody would want to sit at home. And even for people who are working, training programs are like a nice paid holiday. It's a different experience than your regular day-to-day work. But I also think what online programs have taught us is you don't have to necessarily conduct the program in 1 full day, 2 full day. It can also broken into smaller pieces, 1 hour program, 45 minutes program, 2 hour programs. That capsule wise programs will actually increase. That's what I personally feel. And I'm repeating again, I think the blended programs will definitely be on the rise. In the sense, technology enabled programs will definitely be more. You will see more and more gamification, more and more experiential learning. I think that's what even our new education policy is also focusing, right? It should be experience-based learning rather than just somebody teaching you what to think and how to think. I think that's the way forward for our training industry.
Okay, so with respect to the same question, I have few other, in fact, doubt with respect to the training thing, because I'm from a teaching education industry and we conduct online classes. The main challenge with respect to these online classes are the infrastructure. Some students call us and they used to tell that, sir, I'm from a very remote location. I don't have the infrastructure. I don't have access to internet and so many other things. And how do you think the training industry should take this particular challenge?
Yeah, I think it's if there is no net connectivity there, I think there is any which way there is a bigger challenge to address. But I think if you see with the electricity coverage and with 4G coverage, I'm sure close to almost about 80-90% of the geographical area of India is very well connected. I mean, as of yesterday, I was in a very small town in Karnataka. The network coverage was seamless, like 4G. I did conduct a lot of, quite a few programs online sitting in that small town. it's not necessarily that I had to be in Bangalore to conduct these programs. I think infrastructure coverage is a smaller blip. I think will be covered or bridged over a period of time. But having said that, we are almost good to go for the next change, whatever we've been in front of us.
All right. So I have one more question. In fact, this particular question is for you. How about the online frauds or the cyber crimes that happens, especially in the finance sector? Because people started using the technology, especially for the payments and other things. What do you think? Is going to happen? Do you think more number of cybercrime cases are going to come with respect to the payments and things like that? What do you think are the challenges going forward?
Okay, so let me break down this question into two parts. Okay, my first answer is police always comes in the end. That's what we have seen in the movies, right? I mean, you can't possibly really detect everyone. So with respect to online frauds, with respect to banking and financial service industry, the two level answers. One is there are larger players who would probably look at stealing the data, stealing from the banking system itself. That is for the banking institutions for them to address. I'm sure these institutions are constantly working on with the ethical hackers or the internal team to fix the security and so on. But the secondary challenge is with suddenly with the 4G technology enabling all of us to do mobile transfers and everything. It is not just you and me. Even our parents have gotten into it. Okay. For example, my in-laws lost about 7,000 rupees for a Paytm fraud. That is more of awareness, right? That is where you and me will have to take a larger role in terms of engaging people and enabling them to really not to fall prey for all these online frauds. So this is like what used to happen earlier with, let's say the Ponzi schemes in the real world. Now it is happening in the digital world, where probably for a UPI payment, they will send a link to receive the payment rather than accepting the payment, or let's say making the payment. This is where, especially for our older generation or the generation who've never used technology, suddenly gotten into this platform, that's where they really need to be careful. But I think that will continue to rise because digital payments are increasing. Even a small trader is also actually started accepting these payments without really understanding the side effects of these things, right? I think the key is individual awareness is the key. So as part of this, if you see, we also conduct a lot of these investor education programs or investor awareness programs propagated or started by various regulators. If you see banks, the RBI has started conducting investor awareness initiatives. SEBI has started conducting the investor awareness and initiatives, or so is IRDA. I think it's going to be a collective effort from all around. The regulators working, institutions working, and people like you and me helping our own known circles is the way forward. But I don't think this number of cases are going to go down anytime in the future. Yeah. What I see is only numbers are going to go up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So then, Lakshmi, what is the next question?
Yes, sir. Next question is for Mr. Benil.
Yeah.
So, what is the future of tourism industry after COVID-19?
In tourism industry or tourism industry in general?
Tourism industry after COVID-19.
Yeah, in general, across the globe?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, specifically, tourism industry is the most affected industry after COVID because basically when it comes to the hospitality, this connected, this tourism industry as well as the hospitality industry is well connected on some sorts. Nearly 12 major players across the globe. They are contributing the major share of the hospitality industries. So in the last 12 years, the hospitality industry, only the major players are making a bigger role. One point. As of now, the tourism industry is going to be very aggressive because the airline carriers are not going to take up people from here to the other places. And nearly, for example, after SARS after the outbreak of SARS, nearly 70% of the tourism was lost by Singapore, because Singapore is a biggest country that generates most of its revenue from tourism sector. It is widely affected. But through years, in the last 100 years, this is the fourth biggest recession or the fourth biggest pandemic, which affects the economic levels as well as the consumption levels. Nearly the per capita income of the people will be shedded by 7%. So it is not going to be helping every people to dispose the additional income. Since the people is not getting the additional disposable income, how would they spend more on this tourism and other sectors? So that is quite a bigger issue. But every pandemic, there is a particular area which is affected. For example, if HIV is affected nearly in the West Africa and other related African countries, whereas this corona has affected the entire globe. So the entire globe is getting affected, and so every country and every tourism industry is not responding well as of now, because even though because it is a social based industry, the people started to be getting with groups, and so it is not possible for creating that social distance across. So it is very unfortunate that tourism industry will take some more time, as already this 2000 Dr. Tedros, the Director General of WHO, has already told us that the tourism industry will be back only in 2024. It was the statement made by him. So I also say that it will take some longer period for gaining the back pre-existing levels. Also, the domestic tourism will be spur up at the first level, and then the international tourism will get its chance, because as of now the international tourism will be in very grim situations, whereas the domestic situations will be better maybe within one and a half years.
Okay, Benil, I have one more question to you. You said with respect to the vaccination, people take vaccination and then they're not responding that better. So kind of you made a statement while you presented. You said some anti-pathogens or something like that, right?
Colistin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think if there are two scenarios, right? So that's how I'm looking at this. One is there are so many vaccines, so many countries are developing, and the first chance is that vaccines are going to be effective, right? So that is the first scenario. So if that is the scenario, what do you think is going to be the future of the various industries? What if the vaccination gets delayed, or if it is not effective, if it is going to take some more time, then how the businesses should respond? Are they developing strategies? Because I think you are consulting a lot of companies and you are doing research for a lot of companies, and are they doing some research on both these aspects? What if vaccine comes, and what if vaccine gets delayed?
So generally, a vaccine will take 1.5 years. Since this COVID is taken up across the globe, it is getting affected across the globe. The vaccination is getting into the trial much quicker than the earlier pandemics. Because when you, for example, HIV was the outbreak of first HIV was around 1952 in West Africa, but in 1980 only they have channeled and they have taken the way back. So it is the vaccine can bring some sort of changes, but the other thing is that the pandemics will not going to stop only with the corona. There are so many viruses which are going to
Benil? I think we lost connection, right, Benil?
there is a virus called Banya virus.
You can go ahead. I think there was some connectivity issue.
Okay. There was a virus called Banya viruses, which is transmitted from plants to animals and animals to humans. So the chances of vaccination for COVID can be can be bringing some sorts of reformative actions to the industry, but at the same time, the probability of other pathogens to get into this act will be higher and higher. So you cannot take vaccine one by one. So that is the most important thing. If suppose if 2023 there might be another pathogen, maybe this enterovirus 68. There is a virus called enterovirus 68. It is presumed to be one of the biggest virus which is going to affect the human mankind. So if suppose this enterovirus happens at 2023, then the vaccine will come only in 2024. So it is the consumers are not changing. Consumers are not changing. We have to change the strategy to attract the consumers into the bracket. So vaccination, definitely that is labor intensive industry will going to suffer a lot. There is no other go. If vaccine comes to the reality, then the chances of survival will be high, but it takes time. And another thing is that vaccine is basically a bigger lobbying industry. Nearly 80% of the vaccine market is controlled by 4 to 5 players, mainly this Sanofi, Aventis, mainly 4 to 5 players. So the vaccine comes as a lobbying thing. You can serve with the latest Russian updates. They are saying that WHO is not accepting it or something. They have a rift between these two parties. So this vaccine, by introduction of vaccine, the chances of survival will be high, but only the demand created from the consumers will take the situations better. Unless the demand is created across the consumers, and see if nearly 7 to 8% of disposable income is getting low, then how come the people will start to spend more on the other discretionary aspects? The consumer discretionary sector is going to see the bad light. So recently, there are so many articles which says that the consumer discretionary things are affecting very things, especially this cine industries. Every industry is any industry that is highly linked with the labor intensive aspects needs vaccination. Unless vaccination and unless demand drive from the consumer, the chances of revival is very less.
Yeah, Dhanlakshmi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is the next question?
So this is a question for Mr. Karthik from Rupa. How can the corporate training be done online in this pandemic situation?
I think we are kind of repeating the same question. Yeah, there was one
This is
more. Yeah, I think we. Yeah, Karthik.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a choice. Given the choice, we would still love to do physical programs, but now the situation is forcing us. So this is the necessity. We just have to adopt. But we have to think of innovative ways. Probably if I were to do 1 hour program, then I'll bring in a little more games or more quizzes, the polls and so on. I think these are something which will make it interesting. The question is, more than saying that how can we do corporate trainings online, the question ideally could have been, how can we make it more interesting? I think this is one question where I think all of us will have to keep on asking and then keep coming out with answers over a period of time.
There's one more question related to the investing in mutual funds, right?
Yeah.
So is it the right time to invest in mutual funds?
Okay, so the question looked very simple, but the answer is really vast. I don't want to really get into specifics. Remember, when you say mutual funds, mutual fund is a very generic term, okay? Where if I'm a mutual fund company, I collect your money, invest in assets. What assets? I could invest in equity shares, that is equity markets, or I can invest in bonds or gold. Remember, always link your investments to some objective you have in mind, okay? Suppose if you're planning to take this money after a month, then you invest in debt mutual fund schemes called as liquid fund, overnight fund, and so on. But if you're planning for long term, right, that maybe after 10 years you're planning to buy a house, you want to invest regularly, then invest in equities. That is equity mutual fund schemes. But don't put all the eggs in one basket. Maybe invest a little bit in gold as well. Okay. So let me take this question as, is this a good time to invest in equity mutual funds? Keeping that in mind, stay invested for long term. If your horizon is 7 to 10 years, this is a fantastic time. Especially when markets are going down, that's the time you should ideally be investing, because markets keep going down, you keep getting accumulating more number of units of a mutual fund scheme. It is like when you buy gold, when the gold prices go down, you get more grams. In the same way, you'll get more units in times like this, especially when markets are going down. So yes, to answer your question, invest in mutual funds, keep your horizon for long term for equity mutual funds. And again, don't put all your bet on one mutual fund scheme. Try to have, say, 3 or 4 schemes in your portfolio. That will reduce your risk. It's like saying, I want only Virat Kohli to bat in my cricket team. That's not going to give you good results. You need to have A.B. de Villiers. You need to have Chris Gayle. You need to have a good batting lineup for you to really see the success. Yeah.
All right. So there is one more question. I think I'll ask you, Karthik. So it is about, Indian economy is concerned. Earlier we used to save and then spend, and slowly what happened was people started spending more than what they earn, thanks to these credit cards and thanks to the small loans that they get, right? So what is going to happen to the economy, because we are spending too much than what we save? That is what is the question asked by, I think, Srinivasan. Whether this is going to affect the economy, because the retail market itself is it's not happening. Except the FMCG, the other retail businesses are not as good as it used to be. So, what is your answer for this?
Okay, it's one question we generally take up in our sessions all the time: saving, spending. We keep blaming only the current generation for spending the money. Arey, you guys spend so much. My parents and grandparents used to think of only savings. That generation didn't have many options to spend money. Even today, you go to small town, even if you go out as a family, you might not spend more than 200-300 rupees on a meal, right? But in big cities, there's a lot of option on avenues to spend. Not just that, today, if you look at any modern economy, is focused towards a spending-based economy rather than like let's say any other base. You and me go out and spend, only then the economy would recover. So yes, remember always this one thumb rule. It's a generic thumb rule. Doesn't matter how much you earn. Try to save minimum 20% of your monthly income. Okay. The mantra should be you earn, then from the earnings, from your income, first pay yourself. That is, take out the savings and then spend the rest. That is 80% you spend later. First you save. We always do reverse. We earn, we spend, and then whatever is left, we call it as savings. So that will never be enough. In big cities, the aspirations are high. I remember when I joined my job for the first time, my salary was about 10,000 rupees. This was in 2004. Yes, certainly makes me feel old, but yes, like that's how, that I told myself, I think the day I get 20,000 salary, I'll be very happy and I'll be able to save more. But when I got into 20,000 salary bracket, the amount of savings, what I used to do with 10,000 actually went down. So because we keep increasing our standard of living. So I always target to save first. Specific to pandemic, if you see the current situation, I think there's a brilliant opportunity for us to save more, especially for people who have jobs, right? Like Mr. Benil said, the discretionary spending has gone down. What is discretionary spending? It's in your discretion. Can you go out and spend more? Achha, today I feel like going and partying with my friends. Even today, if you feel like you can't spend, that is discretionary spend, right? I mean, that has gone down. The shopping components have gone down. Yes, let's leave the Amazon and Flipkarts, that is still there. But you go out for a shopping, you saw something, window shopping, you really like something, grabbed it. You went out for a movie, or all your friends planned for a trip to Goa or Pondicherry. Imagine the amount of, like money, what is left in the hands of the individuals right now. I don't know how much is it applicable for all of you. Remember, whatever money you are saving, you invest in equity markets for long term, you create wealth. Second thing is, with whatever money you are saving, if you have a lot of loans, when I say loans, credit card loans, personal loans, these loans are considered as bad loans. Try to finish those loans with these extra savings what you have. I think that is one angle you could really look at. But yes, economic recovery will take its own time because remember, any recession, primarily small companies will go out of business, especially Corona-like scenario. The World Bank data suggests almost about 93% of the world economies are in recession. Okay, prolonged recession. I think the last month data suggests about 7 lakh SMEs have closed their business. But it's a great news for big companies because competition has gone down, right? I mean, today Big Bazaar or any of these guys, for them it's a great scenario because imagine small Kirana stores closing. So yes, I think we have a long way to go with respect to recovery. But remember, as an investor, you don't have anything in your control. What is in your control? Stay in the job, ensure you're not losing your job. With whatever income you're earning, save it and keep some money for the emergency and look at your future and invest. That's the ideal mantra. Control the controllables. Okay, don't worry too much on, array, when is the vaccine going to come out? It's good discussion points. But you and me, what we can do, earn, save, and then look after our future.
Yeah. So thank you, Karthik. So we have a few more questions, which I don't think we'll be able to take now.
So one last question.
Yeah. Now I would request the chairperson of MBA, Dr. Veena, to take over the session.
Am I audible?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you're audible. Yeah.
Good evening. Happy 74th Independence Day to one and all present here. I'm happy to be here on the concluding session of this webinar. Thank you, Mr. Benil and Karthik, for this wonderful session. Actually, so Mr. Karthik was talking about many things, even in which we are also thinking in the same line. So we are also going ahead with blended learning. So actually, most of the things, I think we can have the discussion in detail. We are also into the same vertical. We have been talking about this pandemic such a long time, almost for 6 months. And even through our webinar also, we have been talking about the same thing from last 5 weeks. So maybe if I have to talk about the business verticals, every business vertical, we have heard from different speakers from different verticals, so that how they are tackling these situations to make their own strategies, to come out with new solutions, or to tackle the pandemic situation. So in the same line, in this context, the Department of MBA PES University, we decided to take up this webinar series on lessons from COVID-19 game-changing strategy, to know more about the strategies used by different business verticals. So we inaugurated this webinar on 18th of July, and this is the 5th session. The first session was from insurance and IT logistic. The second session was on advertising, and the third session was on FMCG and IT sales. The fourth was on financial services, and today's session is the 5th and the last session for this series. So on this occasion, I would like to thank all our distinguished speakers for making it to the session and spending time with us and their valuable insights on this pandemic situation. The speakers were like this. At the first session, we inaugurated with Abhishek Mukherjee, Digital Practice Head Wipro, Rohit Srivatsava, Dispatch Manager, Oracle India, Bodhdev, Vice President, Autumn Grey, Mumbai, Nishant Anantaraman, Creative Director, Autumn Grey, Gaurav Pundalik, Branch Head, ITC Limited, Hyderabad, Santosh Banerjee, Account Executive Sales, Dell, Mumbai, CS Sudhir, Managing Director, IndiaMoney.com, Shreyas Kumar, Director and CFO, Callsays India. And today's session, we have Mr. Benil, Head Market Research, Our Business Ladder, Karthick S co-founder Knowise Learning Academy. So I really thank on behalf of me and as well as from the university. So for coming here, accepting our invitation and delivering their insights to our, especially most of our participants were our students. So we wanted to engage our students because they had a long break of 3 months. So we were supposed to start our classes maybe this month. So we thought, let us engage our students through these webinar series to bring them back to the maybe the business scenarios. So I thank once again all the speakers. So I would like to thank Dr. Biplav Sarkar, who is instrumental in hosting this webinar series. So without his motivation or maybe the interest, we wouldn't have had this series at all. His keen interest to bring the contemporary industry understanding to the academic culture and practice had culminated in this webinar series. Thank you, Dr. Biplav.
Thanks.
I would like to thank all the faculty moderators for the session, Dr. Jessie Nair, Professor Suresh, Professor Ramesh, and Professor Krishna Kumar. I heard there was intense competition among the student group to be part of the session as student moderators. So really happy to know about that. I thank all the student moderators, Ms. Chaitra, Sachin, Kaverama, OS, and Dakshayani. So of course, last but not the least, our participants. So my heartfelt thanks to all the participants. Their interest and encouragement has motivated us to plan for one additional session. Actually, as per our the initial plan, so we were supposed to have only 4 sessions, but we ended up having one more. That's only because of them. So thank you one and all. So I thank the entire team who made this possible for the department. Thank you. Over to Biplav.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks, Dr. Bina. Right. So she basically made my job really easy because she had mentioned almost everything which need to be said. So yeah, it was really a good journey which we had in last 5 weeks. So almost with the students and our faculty coordinator, we are working almost in every Saturday, Sunday in those last 5 weeks. So which I am going to miss now next week onwards. So that is a regular practice which I was having in every Saturday and Sunday. I would like to also thank the Vice Chancellor of PES University. The PES University has given us the permission and all the required support to conduct these webinar series. And a special thanks, of course, to Dr. Bina. So she, from the beginning, she was constantly motivating us, checking behind that what is the status, what is the number, how we are going. She has attended all the sessions we have conducted, even if she had our busy schedule and all. So thanks to Dr. Bina for this great support. I would also like to thank Professor Deepak Anand for facilitating us and the PESU media team. So for their great support, publishing the material on PESU website and then circulating it in the social media. Special thanks goes to all my faculty supports, faculty coordinators, which Dr. Bina has already mentioned the name, and the students, right? They were actually the biggest strength for me to conduct this whole thing. So they were with this whole 5 weeks session. They were constantly with us. There were many students who were interested to be part of it, but we could not accommodate everyone in this series. But hopefully we'll be having many more such sessions in the near future. because this COVID-19, as I had mentioned in the beginning, that accelerated the process of learning and understanding far ahead than what it would have been there probably in next 5, 6 years or 10 years, right down the line. So we have learned that we can meet, we can discuss such things easily in this platform. It's not necessarily always that geographical boundaries there and the place, university campus need not to be. We can meet online. We can use the online facilities and discuss the things which need to be discussed even on off days. So I would also like to thank all the participants. Many of the participants who have attended all the 5 sessions. Thank you for your constant support. I hope that you will come again and will support us in the future sessions also. So with that, probably I'll end here. I'll ask KK if he has anything to say, the 2-liners concluding the session.
Just like what you said, my job has become even more easy now because mostly everything is covered. So now I would like to thank the speakers for the today's session, Karthik, Benil, and the student moderator, Dhanalakshmi. So it was quite informative from Mr. Benil and Karthik from our same industry. I think we should discuss offline about the challenges. How do we tackle it, like Dr. Veena said. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank the management also for giving the opportunity, especially Dr. Biplab Sarkar for making this particular event happen. Thank you so much.
Dhanalakshmi, do you have anything to announce for the students, participants?
Yes, sir.
Any announcement?
Yes, sir. Kindly submit the feedback form to get your e-certificates. Thank you for participating. Thank you so much for the management studies and Biplab Sarkar sir and ma'am and sir and the guest of the session. It was very informative. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we are ending here. So thanks to all.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend. Thanks. Bye-bye.